He killed more of his own generals than the enemy did. Then he used what was left to defeat the most powerful army in human history. How does a man destroy his own military and still win the war? Joseph Stalin. Monster. Dictator. Unlikely savior. Here is a fact that sounds impossible. In 1937, Joseph Stalin personally ordered the execution of 35,000 of his finest military officers. 4 years later, Adolf Hitler's Germany launched the largest military invasion in human history, straight into Soviet territory. The same broken, leaderless, humiliated army that Stalin had destroyed rebuilt itself, bled itself dry, and won. But here's what nobody asks. Was Stalin a genius who made mistakes? Or was he a monster who got lucky? Because the numbers don't lie, and the numbers are disturbing. He ignored 84 separate warnings that Germany was about to invade. 84. Not 1, not 10, 84. And when the invasion finally came on June 22nd, 1941, Stalin went silent for 10 days. No orders, no response. Millions of Soviet soldiers, completely leaderless. It's 3 a.m., June 22nd, 1941. You are a Soviet soldier on the western border. You hear it before you see it, a sound like permanent thunder, getting closer. You grab your radio, static. You look for your commanding officer. He was shot 2 years ago by your own government. You look for orders. There are none. Your commander-in-chief, Stalin himself, has locked himself in a room in Moscow and will not come out. Outside, German tanks are crossing your border at 50 miles per day. 3 million enemy soldiers, the largest invasion force in human history, and you are standing there, alone, with no orders, no leadership, no plan. This is the moment the Soviet Union should have died. So why didn't it? While his army was being slaughtered in the West, Stalin made one decision that changed everything. He moved 1,500 factories, entire steel mills, weapons plants, tank factories, packed them onto trains, shipped them east of the Ural Mountains, completely out of German reach. In the middle of a losing war, in the middle of winter, in under 6 months. While German supply lines froze and stretched thin, Soviet production was accelerating, and Stalin did something else that was almost more powerful than tanks. He changed the name of the war. It was no longer a political war. It was no longer Stalin's war. He called it the Great Patriotic War. And 200 million Soviet citizens stopped fighting for a government and started fighting for their motherland. Remember what I asked at the beginning? How does a man destroy his own military and still win the war? Here is the answer. He replaced pride with desperation. He replaced leadership with fear. And on July 28, 1942, he made it official. Not one step back. Every Soviet soldier received this order personally from Stalin. Panic mongers and cowards must be liquidated on the spot. Soldiers were stationed behind their own troops, with orders to shoot anyone who retreated. Brutal? Absolutely. Did it stop the collapse? It did. Here is the darkest paradox of Joseph Stalin. The same paranoia that made him destroy his army in 1937 made him impossible to break in 1941, because a man who trusts no one fears nothing more than losing, and Stalin would do anything, to anyone, to win. Consider General Zhukov, the man who would become the greatest military mind of World War II. In 1941, Stalin nearly had him shot. The paperwork existed. The order was almost signed. But Stalin stopped, not out of mercy. Out of calculation, he needed Zhukov more than he feared him. So Zhukov lived, and Zhukov saved Russia. That is Stalin, not a monster who got lucky, not a genius who made mistakes. Something far rarer, a man whose cruelty and his brilliance were the exact same thing. By 1943, as the tide had turned, Stalingrad, the bloodiest battle in human history, nearly 2 million casualties in a single city, Germany's most elite army, surrounded, starved, and forced to surrender. The man who had shattered his own military in 1937 had just delivered the single greatest defeat in the history of modern warfare. And here is the final dark twist. Stalin killed more Soviet citizens than Hitler ever did, up to 20 million in gulags, famines, and purges. He saved the Soviet Union from Hitler, while being, in many ways, just as dangerous as Hitler. So ask yourself, can a monster save a nation? Or does saving a nation make you a monster?